Hi everyone and welcome to Diabolical Misconduct. In this episode we're going to explore 3 tragic deaths that occurred in custody. The first 2 cases are about Australian Aboriginal women, and in this culture when somebody passes away there is a period of avoidance in regards to using their name, viewing images or listening to audio of the person that has died. Therefore I am issuing a warning that the following video contains images and audio of Aboriginal women that have sadly passed away, and this may be upsetting to some viewers. I will refer to these ladies by surname only. Ms Dhu was a 22-year-old Aboriginal woman from Western Australia. In her teenage years she took up with a bad crowd and got into trouble with the police, earning herself a few fines for minor offences. When Ms Dhu was 21, she started a relationship with a man called Dion Ruffin, who had a history of domestic violence. However, Ms Dhu was unaware of this. In 2014, an arrest warrant was issued for Ms Dhu in relation to unpaid fines from when she was a teenager. Ms Dhu's relationship with Ruffin was chaotic, and she had confided to family members that he had assaulted her and broken her ribs as a result. On the 2nd of August 2014, the police attended Ms Dhu's home in search of Ruffin, as he had been reported for violating an apprehended violence order. When the police tackled the issue with Ruffin, they discovered the arrest warrant for Ms Dhu and decided to arrest her along with Ruffin. Ms Dhu's fines totaled $3,622, and she was ordered to serve 4 days in custody to pay part of the outstanding debt at a rate of $250 a day. Not long after Ms Dhu's arrest, she began complaining of pain in her ribs. The officers gave her 2 paracetamol and took her to a medical centre to be assessed. The doctor that saw her prescribed diazepam and oxycodone and declared her fit to return to her detention. After 20 painful hours of vomiting, crying, asking for help, Ms Dhu was handcuffed and taken to the health centre for a second time. By this time, the senior officer on duty, Rick Bond, had contacted Ms Dhu's father to see if he could pay for her fine so that she could be released, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do so. He did, however, tell Officer Bond that his daughter was a user of methamphetamines. This information moved the officer to come to the conclusion that Ms Dhu was withdrawing from drugs, and so he shared his thoughts and opinions with his colleagues. During Ms Dhu's second trip to the health centre, the staff noted that Ms Dhu was tachycardic, crying in pain, grunting, dehydrated, and had a pulse of 126 per minute. Medical staff also conclude that this was most likely due to drug withdrawal, and with that prescribed a dose of paracetamol and signed Ms Dhu fit to return to custody. Bond would later take another person that was in custody to see Ms Dhu and tell them that's what happens when you do drugs. On the 4th of August 2014, Ms Dhu, now unable to stand, was asking to be returned to the hospital. Officer Burgess had just started her shift. I had been informed by Officer Bond that Ms Dhu was a druggie and that she was faking it. Unfortunately, Officer Burgess took this information and treated Ms Dhu as appallingly as Bond had. In the CCTV footage, we can see the officer sit Ms Dhu up, let go of her arm, and watch as she falls back, slamming her head on the floor. The officers eventually dragged Ms Dhu to the van to be transported to the health centre, being rude and insensitive every step of the way. When they arrived to the health centre, Constable Mattia immediately told the nurse that Ms Dhu was faking it. The nurse informed the officer that Ms Dhu had in fact suffered a heart attack. Even when the nursing staff were attempting to resuscitate Ms Dhu, Mattia was still insisting that she was making it up. Just under an hour later, Ms Dhu was dead. The official cause of death was sepsis, caused by her broken ribs at the hands of her partner. However, I think she would have had a fighting chance of survival if the officers and medical staff in this case had acted in a humane and proper manner. All Ms Dhu needed was some basic human kindness and compassion, and her crime, unpaid fines. On the 5th of December 2017, Ms Dhu, an Aboriginal woman, was travelling by train to see her family. She had had a few drinks, and a couple of hours into her journey she fell asleep with her legs blocking the carriage aisle. The conductor told her to get out of the way, and he called the police to help him with an unruly passenger. At 10 minutes past 3 that day, the police arrested Ms Dhu and took her to the police station to start a 4-hour detention to sober up. During the CCTV, we can see Ms Dhu starting her stint in custody. She staggers around the cell unsteadily and lays down a number of times. Officers are required to check intoxicated people to ensure their safety whilst in custody. They did a check at 10 to 5. The officer shouted through, "Are you okay?" Ms Dhu responded yes, and the officer left. Approximately a minute later, Ms Dhu fell, smashing her head off the wall. The next time she was checked was at 35 minutes past 5. The officer would later say that when he checked her, she was in an undignified position for a lady, and that he didn't want to be caught leering at her. The next check was conducted at 6:43. Ms Dhu is laid on the floor with a blanket over her body and face. The officer stays for 7 seconds during this check. Ms Dhu wasn't checked on again until 8 PM, by which time she was unresponsive and almost unconscious. CCTV shows officers placing Ms Dhu on the bed at 5 minutes past 8 and an ambulance is called. When the paramedics arrive, they do some checks before dragging her unresponsive body onto the stretcher. Ms Dhu was taken to the hospital and she never regained consciousness. She sadly died 17 days later on the 22nd of December 2017. Her death could certainly have been prevented had the officers involved looked after Ms Dhu the way they're required to, and her crime, having a couple of drinks and falling asleep on a train. 28-year-old Sandra Bland was driving in Prairie View, Texas on the 10th of July 2015. She noticed a police car quickly approaching the rear of her vehicle and changed lanes, believing the officer needed to get through to an emergency. However, the officer then proceeded to pull Sandra over for failing to signal a change of lane. In the footage captured during the traffic stop, we could see Officer and Senior order Sandra out of the car several times before attempting to physically drag her out of the car. In further footage taken by Sandra herself, we could see Officer and Senior open her door and order her out whilst pointing the taser at her.
Why am I being apprehended? You just opened my car door. You just opened my car door. So you threatening to drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car!
And then you gonna stun me?
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
Really, for a failure to signal. You doing all of this for a failure to signal.
Get over there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's take this to court. Let's do
Go
it.
ahead.
For a failure to signal. Yep, for a failure to signal.
Get off the phone.
On my school.
Get off the phone.
I'm not on the phone. I have a right to record. This is my property. This is my property. Sir?
Put your phone down. Right now. Hope you're getting a warning. Until now, you're going to jail.
No, I'm getting for what?
You can come
For
read.
what?
Come read right.
I'm getting a warning for what?
Stay right here.
For what? Well, you
Stay
just
right
pointed
here.
me over there.
I said stay right
Get
here.
your mind right. Let me. Oh, I swear on my life, y'all some a cop for a signal. You
I got her
take me to
control.
jail.
She's in handcuffs.
What a 816. What you about to break my wrist.
Stop moving.
I'm standing still. You
Stay
keep
right
moving
here.
me, God damn it.
Stay right there.
Don't touch me. For a traffic signal. You doing all this bullshit. For a traffic signal.
Come read right over here. This right here says a warning. You started creating the problem.
You asked me what was wrong.
Do you have
I'm trying to
anything
tell
on
you.
your person that's
Do
illegal?
it feel like I got anything on me? This a maxi
I'm gonna
dress.
remove your glasses.
This a maxi dress.
She is later forced to the ground, screaming in pain, and then taken into custody.
Asshole. You're about to break my wrist. Can you stop? You are about to fucking break my wrist.
Stop moving. Stop now. Stop it.
Stop resisting, man.
If you would stop, and I would tell you.
Fucking traffic
Now
signal.
stop.
You are such a pussy. You are such a pussy. No, you are.
You're yanking around.
For a traffic signal.
You are yanking around. When you pull away from me, you're resisting arrest.
This make you feel real good, don't it? A female for a traffic signal.
I got it.
For a traffic signal. I know that makes you feel good, officer.
Okay, take care of yourself.
I know it makes you feel real good. You're a real man now. You just slam me, knock my head in the ground. I got epilepsy, you motherfucker.
Good.
I hope I...
Good.
Good.
You should have thought about that before you start resisting.
All right, yeah, this is real good.
We also observed footage of Sandra arriving at the jail and being booked in. Later on, during Sandra's stay in custody, we can see her sitting at a bench outside the cell that is occupied by multiple inmates. She is visibly upset. We can see her wiping her eyes many times during this period of the footage. We also see Sandra having a conversation with an officer during this portion. At 6:30 AM on the 13th of July, 3 days after Sandra's arrest, an officer offered her breakfast which she declined, and when asked if she was okay, she responded that she was fine. Sometime later, Sandra asked via the cell intercom how to make a call, which officers instructed her on. However, no call was ever recorded. At 9:07 the same day, Sandra was discovered hanging in a cell. Resuscitation was performed on Sandra, however this was sadly unsuccessful. The jail records show that the officers on duty did not check on Sandra's welfare during 7:34 and the time she was discovered. Sandra's death was ruled a suicide, and during her autopsy, a toxicology report showed that Sandra had extraordinarily high levels of THC in her system. Considering she had been in custody for 3 days, this led many to believe that she had somehow acquired it in jail. Sandra's death could also have been prevented had she have received the care that the officers are required to give her, and her crime not signalling the change of lane